Hi everyone. Today I am going to share my journey from database administrator to cloud, or you can call as Kubernetes admin. So in this video, you can see how you can shift your journey from database administrator to Kubernetes admin. So I will be focusing on one task at a time, so that you can understand things easily. So just let me focus on one task at a time. So let's example you have one question in the exam. Like let's example, let me take this question. Okay. So the question is like you need to create a cluster role by name. Let's say example deployment underscore cluster. Okay. And this role should have the authority to create deployment, stateful set, and daemon set. And you should also create a service account name CCID token in the namespace CICD. Okay, and bind the cluster role to service account and limit the namespace to app1. Okay, so we'll go step by step so that you understand things easily. So this I am just taking from this. I had just taken this question from some references. Okay, so let us go step by step. So I have a Kubernetes cluster. So Kubernetes cluster is nothing but you have one master node and you have slave nodes. Okay, so we have one master node and two you can consider as slave nodes. So if you want to see the nodes, you can use the command kubectl get nodes. Okay, so kubectl get nodes will give you the nodes detail on the cluster. So here we have one master node and two you can call as slave nodes. So all, if you combine these two, it will be called as Kubernetes cluster. So let me just explain this question. So for this question, let's assume you are a database administrator. You have shifted your role from database administrator to Kubernetes admin. So for this, let's say like consider like let's example you have a database. So when you have a database ready, so what you usually do in order to do export import, or if you want to load some data. Okay, so consider this scenario in the same way. So for that, let's example you create a table space, right? So in Kubernetes, the table space is nothing but we call it as namespace in the Kubernetes. So in Kubernetes, just remember like it is the namespace is equivalent to table space. Okay, so if you want to view the table space, you give some queries, right, in database. Similarly, we give here kubectl command, kubectl get, and the short form of namespace is ns. Okay, you can do short form as ns. Okay, you can see the list of table space here. Okay, already we have a list of table sorry, I'm saying table space here. So table space you can consider as namespace here in Kubernetes. So I am from the database background and I shifted my role from database to Kubernetes admin. So I am just correlating this one with the database terminologies so that the things becomes easy. So you see the list of namespace here. Okay, so let's say example you want to create a new namespace. Okay, you have let's example here it is mentioned app1. Okay, so let's say example instead of app1, app10 is there, and you want to create this namespace if that namespace is not exist. Okay, so I will simply use the command like kubectl create ns. Okay, and this you can copy from here. This is the namespace, which is nothing but table space in database terminology. Okay, I will give the name as app10. Okay, so app10 is already there. Okay, so let me take one more name 11. Okay, so let me take kubectl, use this command kubectl create ns app underscore team1 11. Okay, so this is my namespace ready. So how you can see the namespace kubectl get ns. Okay, So you can see the namespace app underscore team1 already exists here. Okay. So in a database, let's say example, you have created a table space. So what you do the next step, you will be creating the user, right? So similarly, you have something called a service account in Kubernetes. So how we can create a service account is like service account is nothing but you can correlate it with database user. Okay. So how we can create the service account? Kubectl create. Again, we can use the short form SA. Okay. So let's example, you want to create a service account name CCID token. Okay. So this I will, since CCID token service account will be already there. So I will use the term, I will use add 11 here. Kubectl create SA, this is nothing but like your create user command in database. Okay. Okay. Service account is created. Okay. So next we'll come to the question like, so first we have created the table space. If it is not there already, so we can create it, and then if it is there, we can just leave it as it is. Second step, we created the service account. Okay. Next is like once you create this one, what you need to do is like let us come back to the question here. Okay. So let's say example, in a database you created a user. Okay. What's next step you do? Okay, you create role if it is not there. Okay, so similarly we'll create a role here. So here role we'll create it with the help of cluster role. So command. So cluster role is nothing but you can correlate with database role which we consider like set of privileges, right, in database. So here we have cluster role. So we can create that kubectl create cluster role and the name of the role. Okay, so let's say name of the role here we are taking deployment underscore cluster role. Okay, so here also I will create cluster role and the name of the role is let's say okay 11. Okay, so kubectl create cluster role, name of the role cluster role 11. Then let's say example, you want to like you have to use some terminologies here, so that you need to remember. Okay, so kubectl create cluster role. Okay, so if you here I have option like auto completion enable. So this is something feature enabled in the Kubernetes, so it will make our task easy. So let's example, if you forget some option, so this is very useful for you. So let's example, I just forgot the term verb. Okay, so verb is equals to create. So this also you can make it as a note, like the if you use auto completion feature, so it will make your task easy. So I use the term verb is equals to create. Okay. Okay, then again, let's say example, you have forget some more stuff, so you can press tab. Okay, so hyphen verb is equals to create. Okay, and let's say like, so sometimes you have to remember it like hyphen resources. Like we have database roles, like we need to remember like which roles we want to give, right? Like connect or it can be resource, those kind of stuff. So here good thing is like in question like uh, uh, you have some terminologies like you have to remember some terminologies like deployments, deployments, stateful sets. Okay, so I think I just copied the question incomplete. So yeah, this role actually the question is this one. So just let me make myself, oh yeah, sorry, actually the question is there already. Sorry, I am getting confused something. So stateful set is like you these terms you can copy from here, like deployment, stateful set, and then daemon sets. Okay, So here, just assume that in database you don't have a role, so you create it. But in Kubernetes, it's not that much simpler. So some terms you have to remember it. Some term you can use the feature like auto completion feature. It will make your life very much easy, because most of the terms we don't remember as a human being. So we have the capability to forget things easily. So this will make the auto completion feature will make your life very easy in Kubernetes, as well as like you can refer to the documentation as well. We have a Kubernetes documentation. Like if you go to here, okay, sorry, here. So you can bookmark the documentation which you required. So you can use make use of search in kubernetes.io document. Let's example cluster role. If you don't remember the syntax, so you can search here cluster role. Okay, so if you search here, you will get all the syntaxes, what all you need to uh, remember actually. So let's example cluster role. Okay, so kubectl cluster role, like cluster role name hyphen word. These are the this only I create just now, right? Okay, so like this you can refer the documentation also. Kubernetes.io documentation you can use, and you can just copy from here also. But some terms like which you use in this particular task, you have to remember as a good practice, so that for you the things becomes easier. So this can also come as one task in the exam. So you just need to remember few points. Okay. So this is one thing. Okay. So that's what I have made the video for this, just to make our life easier. So I have created the cluster rule. Okay. So now let us come back to the question. Okay. Here. Okay. So we have completed what all things we have completed. We have completed creation of table space, that is nothing but namespace, and then we have created the user, which is nothing but service account. Then let's example, we have created a role, which is nothing but cluster role in Kubernetes. Okay. So you can see there the cluster role is created. The next step is you need to bind this cluster role to service account and limit the namespace to so and so. So this is something like you can correlate, like let's say example, you have a user creation done in a database, and then you grant some user. Okay, then you assign some default table space, right? Like you have assigned different table space, whether it is permanent or whether it is temporary, but you assign it, right? So by using alter user command, that is nothing but you can say bind cluster role in Kubernetes terminology. So let us go ahead with this thing. kubectl. Okay, so again, we'll just refer to the documentation, because I want yourself to be and other people also to be comfortable with the documents. So create role binding, which is nothing but, as I said you, it is like alter user terminology of database. So I will copy this syntax from here. Okay, so create, okay, here create role binding so and so hyphen so and so. Okay, let me copy this particular thing from here, so that even if you are a beginner Kubernetes person, you can understand this. So create role binding. So role binding, I am giving any name. If it is mentioned in the question, then you can use that name, but sometimes it's not mentioned in the question. So I am giving role binding name like uh, yeah, role binding as admin. Okay. Yeah, create role kubectl create role binding admin hyphen hyphen so and so hyphen. Then let's say example. Okay, here there is something interesting I will tell you. So let's say example, you are using create user terminology or alter user terminology. You define some user, or you allocate some table space, right? Same way, let's say example, you are creating some let's say example, you have created some role also, or let's say example, you have created some user, you assign some table space to it, as I told you, right? Similarly, here you will correlate it with in this terminology like service account. Service account is equals to our service account, what we created in the second step. Let me go there. kubectl. Yeah, this is the service account, which is nothing but database user, as I mentioned you, like in database terminology. Like here we call a service account. Okay. Then you need to bind it. So the binding, what we do is like I told you, right? We give a table space name and the username, like in database terminology. So first you give here table space name, which is nothing but namespace. We call as namespace. Namespace. You can write it full, or else you can use the NS like short form. So namespace, what we created in step one is, let me go to here. Okay, app team one. Okay, colon, and then the user. Okay, user is here only. So this is how you do the role binding. Okay, so I try to explain whatever I can in the best possible way. So here we are getting some error. Okay, so one more good thing is here you have one option like -h, which will tell you like if you have used, if you're doing any syntax errors. Okay, kubectl-h. So here it is saying like I am doing some error. Okay, so in my syntax, kubectl create role okay, here it is mentioned here, kubectl create role binding admin hyphen cluster role is equals to so and so. Okay, good. Actually I forgot the hyphen here in my syntax. It's okay, we are human beings, so we can make mistake. So hyphen next is like, okay, so hyphen service account is equals to ccid token one. Okay, okay, next is, once you do this, I think cluster role, let me use this one now. Binding, we use this syntax. kubectl create role binding, high role binding name hyphen cluster role admin. Okay, let me just remove this one. Role binding hyphen h. Some mistake I am doing, which I don't remember where it is. Okay. Okay, okay. Now I remember. Maybe this is the one. Yeah, now I remember what a mistake was. Hyphen n, maybe this is the one. Let me copy this exact syntax and then we'll do the changes. Up to here I am fine. And user is equals to kubectl token hyphen namespace is equals to, let me see if I can use this one. Yeah, now I think it's okay. kubectl create role binding admin hyphen so and so hyphen user hyphen namespace equals to, so role binding is created. Okay, kubectl describe role binding. Okay, so what we created just now, ccid token 11, right? We should display here our role. Somewhere we are doing some mistake. Let me use this particular thing. Should find the create. Okay, let me just refer to the thing which I did in lab, in my lab previously. So I think, yeah, this is the mistake I am doing. kubectl create role binding, then the role hyphen. Yeah, this is the thing I have to use it. Create role binding. See hyphen service account. This I was doing mistake. kubectl create role binding name, and then the role hyphen cluster role hyphen service account. Then let's say 11, and here also 11. Okay, so it's already existed. So let me make this one as also 11. Okay, now I'm fine. Now let's say once this role binding is created, now I'll describe it. Describe is like just viewing in database we do, right? Like with the help of some queries, we view which table space, which user is there, those kind of stuff. So this is my first video for Kubernetes, so just please bear with me. I'm trying best to explain, and so that it should help DBAs who are shifting their role from DBA to Kubernetes admin. Okay. So I have prepared some question based on some research, and I have tried to explain in the best possible way. So in case if you feel like you're facing difficulty in getting things, so I apologize for that. But I'm just trying to explain the best possible way. Okay. So in the future, I will just make a note like if how I can make this video in a better way. Okay. So in terms of Kubernetes, I have Alhamdulillah, Biomatic Race, I have become expert now, but I just need to concentrate more on how I can prepare the videos better and how I can remember the terminologies when I'm doing things practically. So inshallah, it will come to me as the time proceeds. So let me describe this role binding. Okay. So yeah, here you see here we have cluster role 11. Okay, and then you have service account which is binded with app 11. Okay, so this is the requirement for that particular question. So usually this question mostly appears in CKA exam, so this kind of question. So I just took some example from somewhere, and I have tried to prepare this video. So hope you like it. Thanks very much for spending spending your time with me. If you like these videos, definitely please do like so that I can create some more videos.